Okay, third grade. So we have started working on rounding, and yesterday I taught you a little bit of a song to help you kind of remember, and then we're going to do some more practice today with it. So the song went like this. When you round down, down you go, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. When you round up, up, it's nice like 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So remember, if a number ends in 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we go down. If it ends in a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we round up. And we're going to show you two different ways today to round. So let's take the number 28, and we're going to round it to the nearest 10. So I can start with my number line, which is what we did yesterday. Okay, so I will see how many 10s in 28. 2 10s or 20. What is one more 10 than 2 10s? 3 10s or 30. So then I asked myself, what is halfway between 20 and 30? And like we discovered yesterday, halfway always ends in a 5. So 25. So our number was 28. So let's think about where 28 would go. 21, 2, 3, 4, 25, 26, 27, 28. So anything that's above the halfway mark, you go up. Anything below, we go down. 28 we see is closer up here, so it's going to round up to 30. Now, boys and girls, there's another way I can do that. If I don't want to have to draw number lines off, let me show you this. Let me show you a different way to do it. So I can just write my number. I can do my number line, but this is another option because remember, I like to give you guys lots of tools that you can use to help you solve the problem the way you find the easiest. So the number 28, I will underline the digit that we are rounding to. Okay, nearest 10. And then I circle the number next door. So I underline the digit we're rounding to, the 10s, and I circle the number next door. And I say that 8. Remember, if it's a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we round up. It has some power to it. If it's a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we go down. It doesn't have any power. So 8, does it have some power? Sure does. So it gives its power to that 2 and makes it go up to a 1 or to a 3. It makes it go up one more. Let's try another one. I'm going to show you both doing it both. Now let's say the number 17. Let me show you what it would look like using my number line. Okay, 17. And that number, there's 1 10. Or just 10. What's 1 more than 1 10? 1 more than 1 is 2 10s or 20. And then, of course, my halfway between 10 and 20 is 15. So if my number is 17, and I'm going to place it on my number line, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Remember, anything above that mark goes up. Anything below it goes down. So 17 right here, it is above the midway point, so it goes up to 20. Let me show you doing it this way. Okay, 17, we're going to underline the place value we're rounding to, which is the 10s. We're going to circle the number next door. When you round up, up, it's nice for 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So that 7 has power. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 all have power. When it has its power, it gives its power to that number and makes that number go up 1. So since it has the power to give that power over, that 1 becomes a 2. So it rounds up to 20. But either way, I get the same answer. Now, when we were rounding 17, my endpoints were 1 10 and 2 10s, correct? Now, how would my endpoints, the starting and the 2 marks that I make at the start and the beginning of my number line, how would my endpoints change if I was no longer rounding 17 to the nearest 10, but I was rounding 117 to the nearest 10? So let's think about this here. When I was rounding 17, remember my endpoints were 1 10, 2 10s. But if I'm rounding 117, the only thing that's going to change is that I'm going to add 100 onto each of my numbers. My tens aren't going to change. If I'm taking 117, the only thing that's changed is I'm adding on that 100. So it's still going to be, it's no longer going to be just 110, it's going to be 11 tens or 110. See that? 11 tens, 110s. And then one more than 11 tens is 12 tens, which is 120. Okay? So instead of just having 20, we have 120. Instead of it just being 10, we have 110. And instead of my halfway point being 15, it would be 115. So all I did was I added on 100. Now, how did I get to 11 tens? I thought to myself, okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So 10 tens is 100, 110. That would be 11 tens. And then I can label it the same way. If it's 117, it's going to be up here. Remember, it's going to go up. So 117 would round up to 120. But remember, I'm trying to show you two different ways that you can do this. Maybe you don't like the number line. So this is how we did with the number line, and we knew we went up to 120. Well, if I'm going to round it the other way, I'm still rounding to the nearest tens. So I'm going to underline the place value I'm rounding to, circle the number next door. When you round up, it's nice like 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So that 7 rounds up. It's got the power to make that 1 go up. Anything that is to this direction of the underline stays the same. I don't mess with it. Just how I didn't mess with it over here. So it stays that 1. But that 7 had the power, and I gave that power to the 1 and made the 1 a 2. So 117, doing it either way, is going to round up to 120. Okay, let's take a look at this one. We've got the number 75 right here. So I'm going to label my number line. In 75, there are 7 tens. Or 70. 1 more than 7 tens is 8 tens, or 80. And then halfway is going to be 75. So I'm going to put my number on my number line. That's pretty easy because it goes directly on 75. Remember, anytime you are at or above that mark, it always rounds up. So 75 will round up. But remember, there's another way we can do this. So if I want to take 75, I underline the place value I'm rounding to, the tens. I circle the number next door. When you round up, it's nice like 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So that 5 is going to round up. It has power to make that 7 become an 8. And then that just goes away and becomes a 0. So either way, you can see that 75 will round up to 80. Now, how would it change if I was 175? Well, I'm no longer going to just have 7 tens. I'm going to have 17 tens, or 170. And then 1 more than 17 tens is 18 tens, or 180. Halfway is 175. So I plot my number on my number line. Remember, anything that's at or above goes up. Or I can show you the other way. So if I have the number 175, I'm still rounding to the nearest 10. So I underline my digit in the tens place. I circle the number next door. When you round up, it's nice like 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So that 5 has some power to give to the 7. This number stays the same. The 5 gives its power over to the 7 and makes it an 8. And you'll notice that either way, it stays 180. Let's try one more example together. Let's try 212. So in the number 212, I'm rounding to the nearest tens, okay? So in 212, there's 21 tens, or 210. What's 1 more than 21 tens? 22 tens, or 220. Halfway between 210 and 220 is 215. So I can do it two ways. I can place that number on my number line. 212 would go about here, okay? Remember, anything that's below here goes down. So 212 would round down to 210. Or I can do it this way. So if I'm taking 212, rounding it to the nearest 10, I underline my digit in the tens place. I circle the number next door. So we've been doing all this practicing rounding up. But if it's if you round down, down you go, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So if the number ends in a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we're going to go down, just like we see in our number line. So that 2, it doesn't have any power because only the 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 have power. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, they don't. They go down. So they just go away. They poof, they fly away. So neither of these numbers can be changed. So it stays a 2, a 1, and I just write a 0 for that number. It just stays the same. It doesn't have any power. And we'll do one last example, 103 to the nearest 10. So in 103, there are 10 tens, or 100. One more than 10 tens is 11 tens, or 110. And halfway is 105. Okay? So remember, anything below the halfway part goes down. Anything at or above goes up. So 103, I put on here, 101, 2, 3. We can see it's below, so it's going to go down to the 100 mark. I also can round it this way. So if I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I underline my digit in the tens place. I circle my number next door. When you round down, down you go, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that 3 doesn't have any power to give up, so it just goes away. It's just going to go down. So the 1 stays the same, the 0 stays the same, and that 3 just went away, so it's also a 0. So either way, it's going to round down to 100. So there are some pages for you to practice rounding. You're going to be rounding to the nearest 10. And then there's an assignment for you to work on. And if you have any questions, make sure you reach out and ask Mr. Rush or I.